the offense is interesting and can present some problems. And let's talk about that a little bit. There are some possible issues that the Packers can present to the San Francisco 49ers. And I think most of those issues are going to be their offense versus our defense. What do you see as far as maybe some areas that Green Bay can be successful against San Francisco?
I think that there's going to be some situations where Jordan Love has been really excellent at a play action, and I think that he has the ability to make all the throws. We've seen the middle of the field timing. We've seen what he can do off schedule. I think he's clearly the biggest threat. It's no knock on their weapons, but I've talked about this. I mean, what Jordan Love is doing with their whole stable outside of Aaron Jones, all their tight ends receivers are first and second year players, every single one of them. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, your second year, right? But then what do you get? Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and I know I'm forgetting somebody here. Jaden Reed. These are all really, really solid NFL players. Christian Watson, we talked about before, but Christian Watson's not quite all there yet. So I think that the 49ers are going to respect it. I think that one thing I will look with Jordan Love is I wouldn't call him a YOLO artist, but I think that at all. I think he can be very disciplined, but I also see him. There were several times in this game where he's very willing to just say 50-50 ball.
He trusts his guys.
What? Well,
he trusts his guys,
And I think that's one of the keys. I think is to put, similar to Jordan Love isn't a big scrambler, although he can use his legs. I think that I'd like to see the 49ers deploy maybe a little bit more pressure than I'm used to. I think that Jordan Love is a guy that is ascending. He's done great, but I think that mixing it up and giving him different looks with different pressure, I'd like to see. I'm usually a little bit reticent to say I like rushing 4 and let our linebackers do the work. But as long as we kind of keep Fred in space, I'd like to kind of mix it up with some of those safety cornerbacks coming off the edge, make him uncomfortable, make him go a little YOLO. And I think this could be a competitive game. But I think this is a game where, like you said, styles make fights, and I think the 49ers match up very well.
Yeah, most certainly. I think so as well. I think the fact that they have 4 or 5 guys in that receiving core / tight end room that really can make plays and you can rely on makes them a little bit dangerous in that aspect, that you can't key in on anybody. And Jordan Love will go through his progressions. I mean, he's one of those guys that will look 1, 2, 3, so forth and so on, can get mobile if he has to buy some more time and throw downfield. So I think those things make it interesting. And then they are also a balanced offense. They can run the ball very well. We'll see next week if Dylan's able to come back. Probably not, just based off the injury, but maybe. And if he can, that helps him out a little bit to go with Aaron Jones. They have some weapons now on offense. They certainly have some weapons. And I would say that the offensive line, even though they're without both their tackles that they thought would be there going into the season, they have some rookies, I believe, bookending things that are doing a very, very good job as well, or some young guys. And I think the offensive line has done a pretty good job as well. So just the fact that they can spread it around, you can't key in on one guy, you really have to guard everybody. Everybody's that important. I think can make it a little bit difficult. They go 5 wide, and Jordan Love picks you apart. And I will say this: another thing that I liked watching them play, just schematically, they're willing to change tempos on you, and they're willing to go hurry up, which can cause issues for defenses. That also can present some problems and make it an advantage for their offense. I like that about them. And then defensively, if Jair Alexander can play, somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I agree with that. Unlike some of the teams that the 49ers have faced, mainly the Seattle Seahawks, who have a lot more defensive talent, in my opinion, than Green Bay, Green Bay mixes it up a ton on defense. They show you a lot of things pre-snap and change it post-snap, and that confused Dak a little bit tonight. And I think for all the things that Dak has always been a pretty good processor. I believe that. And if you watch him play, I don't think that's his biggest issue. I think he processes fine, but he was confused a little bit tonight. So, maybe they can confuse Brock Purdy once or twice, and that's all you need, and that can keep you in a game if you can force a couple turnovers. Jordan Love plays a clean game. Things can get very, very interesting. So those are the things that I think could be possible issues, I guess, for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. And I think one of the things that goes in the equation too is Kyle Shanahan usually has a pretty damn good track record against his coaching tree dudes, right? Like, and he gets up for this. Like, don't make no mistake. Like, Kyle Shanahan respects the hell out of guys like Mike LaFleur and all these other guys, but like, I would say it's bad blood, but like, they're like Kyle Shanahan wants to sun people. Okay, like make no mistake. Like Kyle Shanahan is going to want to, and I think Kyle Shanahan has done a very good job of really understanding those coaches, those guys that work within their tendencies. It's a big reason why Sean McVay has been his son. Like, right? I mean, let's be real. Like, this is something. Like, people don't talk about this enough. Like that type of familiarity, like that understanding, is a huge benefit. Now, you could say it goes both ways, but I feel like, yeah, you got your Andy Reid's. Like Kyle Shanahan, to me, I'll still say this. I love Andy Reid. I still think Kyle Shanahan is one of one. I really do. I think Kyle's a different beast. Like Kyle, getting in his mind is hard to do. And I think it's going to be fun to see that level of intensity, especially with a couple of guys in the locker room have been saying, yeah, the sense of urgency in the locker room is palpable, and not in a panicky way. Like they're like, it's like the sense of like, we're here, we're still loose, but like there is a laser focused mission right now.
Jay Mill with a great comment. He says, every time we beat the Green Bay Packers, we end up losing the next week. That goes back to 2013. Oh, yeah, 2013. I was going to say, I was like, Kaepernick and the 49ers beat the Packers and then won the next week. But okay. Yeah. All right, fair. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that holds true. I don't expect it to by any means, but, I guess anything can happen. All right, Matthew Sanders says, stop it. Okay, we saw that one. On the goal line says, I'm late, so you guys might have already talked about this, but Jair Alexander may have suffered an injury. I think the 49ers offense should do well. He retweaked his ankle. There was a doctor that had tweeted it, though, that I follow on Twitter. He said it was a different injury than the original ankle injury. And based off of, again, he's not there, so he's not saying this is true, but he's usually pretty correct, is he believes Jair Alexander should be fine going forward. It shouldn't be a big deal, but we will see how that goes. That'll be something to monitor. And I don't think the schedule's out yet. Maybe it is, but usually I think the number one seed in the NFC for like the last 4 or 5 years is played on Saturday. So I expect that to be a Saturday game as well. Jason says, where does Green Bay have matchup advantage on San Francisco's defense? I think we talked about that a little bit already. Hopefully we answered your question, Jason. And then Clement Gray says, Cowgirls overconfident. Niners won't be the same. Yeah, I don't, you know what? I just think Dallas is not that great.
No.
It's really, yeah, you could be overconfident, but if you're the better team, you're the better team. And when it comes to the playoffs, I also think there is some truth to Dallas being a little bit tight when it comes to all the expectations, all the pressure. They knew they had to win this game. And I think it showed early. Really, the announcers kept talking about it. They're like, oh, what's going on between CD and Dak? That's them being tight, in my opinion. That's them not playing loose. They have a great connection and have for a majority of the season after the 49er game, yet they couldn't get on the same page when it mattered the most. That, to me, is them playing tight, in my opinion. And I think that's not only a Dak thing. I think that's a CeeDee Lamb thing. I think that was a Dallas Cowboy thing. There was definitely palpable pressure that you could feel on that team, and they showed it very, very early on. And by the time they had gotten over said pressure, it was just too late. And that's the way it went for them.